Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's well. Hope everybody's relaxing. It's a nice, cool night here in the UK. Oh, I'm just making sure connection's good. Right, let's get everything prepped. So, good evening once again. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's relaxing. It's Wednesday once again, hump day, so right in the middle. So today I'm going to be talking about something. So it's a highly requested episode by quite a few people. So I've had a ton of emails. I've always asked people to give me as much feedback as I can. And the feedback I always ask for is, look, if you want a special request episode, there's like a private poll going on at the minute in my head. If there's something you want me to really touch on, then if there's enough, then I will actually kind of film it kind of for you guys, because at the end of the day, this is my way of showing you exactly how much I appreciate you by obviously going live and answering as many questions as I can. So, I'm just reading the comments there. So yeah, the main request that I've had is my history and my current journey, like within car care. It's kind of a little bit of my story. So because this is a podcast, I can kind of speak a lot longer about this. So if it was a video, I would start to get conscious if it was 45 minutes, maybe a bit longer. Now, on a podcast, that sort of stuff is kind of expected of people to speak in as much detail as possible. Anyway, so as I said, the request is, can you please tell your story and what is your history? What were your steps within car care, the car care world, to become where you are now, and potentially again some of the plans. Now, this is going to be a very interesting one because there is quite a lot of in-depth detail that I may be able to kind of touch on. So, with the usual spec I'm going to give you is, as I'm talking, ask as many questions. I'm about 30 to 60 seconds behind, so obviously I will keep looking at the screen and answering any concurrent questions. So if I'm at a certain point in the conversation and you think, this is a good point, I'm going to ask a little bit deeper, I will take a pause in my chronological order and I will continue to speak on your question, and I'll go back to the story. So hopefully the connection's good, guys. Obviously the sound in my ear sounds really good, so I'm going to start and crack this off. Just make sure my seat's adjusted. There we go, look at that, I'm a bit higher now. So, my story, here we go. I'm going to start from when I was a little boy in the UK. On the weekends, my parents, specifically my dad, he used to pay me, I think it was a £5. Okay, so I was a little hustler when I was younger. I had about 57 jobs to try and earn £5 a week from all the jobs. So, the usual paper rounds, all that sort of stuff. In fact, I had a little bit of a business plan when I was a kid. I walked around most of my neighbours with a sponge and bucket when I was 10, saying if I can wash their cars. I think about 3 people said yes. So that kind of side really didn't take off. But in between, obviously, the paper rounds and all the other things I was doing when I was a young boy, my dad used to pay me, I think it was £5 for the outside, £5 for the inside. So a total tenner. And he basically used to come and vet my kind of work. So obviously I very quickly learned the first wash, the second wash, again, as everybody does, tries to do the lazy way, and I tried to rush through it, and it took me about 7 minutes to both do the outside and the inside. However, as you can imagine, my dad, also who was ex-military, went over the car in a fine-tooth comb. And again, I didn't get the £5, and he said, you have to try next week. So this is where I think there was the first kind of real experience, because again, don't forget, I'm like 10, 11, I can't really have a real job. So this was my real experience, kind of firsthand of attention to detail, let's say. So again, this continued for, I don't know, a couple of years. I got better, I got quicker. I realized that I had to work for the fiver on the outside and the fiver on the inside. So again, I started to earn the £10 more consistently because I was able to obviously hold my process in as much as I could with the one bucket in there, little wash mitt my dad had from 1982 or something. So, but anyway, I did the best I could, and this is where I've always liked cleaning. It's very different because cleaning a house. So my mum used to pay me. This was my mum's kind of side hustle to me, is you have to go and clean the house. And my mum, if anybody has ever met Lana, will know that she's the real deal. So that's the only real person I'm ever scared of in my life. I've been to war zones, not scared of anything. On the other hand, my mum, even to this day, I am scared of that woman. So when she said clean the house, it was really clean the house, not like just give it a wipe and he's £5. So I used to hoover, I used to wipe, all sorts. So I tried to earn as much money in a weekend I could. If I could get £15-20, I'd be like, yes, let's go. So that was my first kind of experience. Obviously, I went to school, went to college. Now, when I went to college, I had a little bit of an experience of having my own car, of course. So I passed my test, bang on. So my birthday's in October, and pretty much from October, I think I passed my driving test in November/December. Reason is, at the time, I don't know if this still exists, my dad kind of took some special insurance, and he could kind of drive me on a business park, and I could kind of, reverse park, 3-pointer and all that sort of stuff. So I had quite a lot of free tuition from my dad. I think my dad bought me a block of 10 kind of lessons, and I think I only took 8. And obviously I went for my test. The theory I passed, which is the hardest thing for me, theory. The practical really was a doddle, and I still remember this. I had 3 minors, and the exact minors I cannot remember, but I do remember something about being overconfident. So college, cars. I tried the car washers, but not the manual car washers. I tried the automatic ones where you pay whatever it is, £4.50, and it spins and it goes through this. I learned that way. I very quickly learned against it. So this was probably a one-time hit. I thought, no, I'm never doing this again. So at the time, I had a little Fiat Punto, a 1.2, absolute animal of a car. I think it had about 40 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 time in 4 years. So yeah, but I tried to look after it the best I could. So I hoovered it weekly, I wiped it. At this point, there was nothing to do with car care. I just tried to do it on the kind of cheap. I had no kind of intention of, let's start trying product at this stage. But I washed it weekly, and I tried to make it look shiny for my level of knowledge that I had at the time. So again, I went then away. Obviously, as you know, I was in the military. I lived in Northern Ireland, and this is where the story really begins. So I touched down in Northern Ireland right after my basic training, and I actually remember like it was yesterday. So again, I was very excited. I have just spent 7 months in a 12-man room, obviously being trained. Went to Northern Ireland, and it was something called Z-type accommodation, a standard. So a Z-type accommodation, basically you have your own room. So imagine going to a Premier Inn, okay? Imagine that room layout, bed, little kitchen area, and your own kind of ensuite bathroom with the main door obviously being closed, and then the corridor per each floor. So that little room was like a Premier Inn room for me. So I was really excited. I got to make it my own, have my little Xbox and stuff. And I remember like this was yesterday. I was on the tennis courts. Again, in the military is a really big thing for sports. I was walking the tennis courts. It was a nice day. And basically I said to my dad, I said, look, I've saved all my money through basic training. I think I had like 10 grand 8 grand, something like that, in the bank, just sat there. I didn't spend a penny really, apart from probably a couple £100. And I said, Dad, look, there is a lot of kind of car companies that support the military. There was like special resellers of cars that offered you, you know, VAT free, or like 2 grand off and no VAT, all that sort of stuff. So I was considering buying a brand new car at the time, and my dad said to me, look, I don't think it's worth it, because at the time I never ever had anything nice in terms of the car world. I've always been into cars, the Fast and Furious films, the Max Power magazines or Fast Car magazines. I've always said to my mum, I said, look, even driving into school, I said, one day I'm going to have this car and I'm going to modify it and I'm going to do all these things. I had everything pre-planned. So obviously I was excited. First time in my life. How old was I? Can't even remember how old I was. But late teens, about to go into obviously kind of my 20s. And at that point I thought, right, I can buy a brand new car here. My dad said, look, it's not a good idea. You are going away to Afghanistan in about 6 months' time. What is the point in buying a car that's going to be sat in a very wet country for 6 months, not being moved? So again, I kind of understood the thought process behind this. Obviously I went away. I was one of the first to go, one of the last to come back, because of the kind of special driving qualification I had, which looking in hindsight, it was a bad thing to do in basic training. So I had to go a couple of weeks early, had to leave a couple of weeks late. And I came back, and a lot of people, this is where on the membership platform, you know, some of the story starts to build. So during my time away, where the limited Wi-Fi that we had available to us, again, you've got to think of security and that, having like kind of encrypted lines, encrypted Wi-Fi, so people can't kind of ping your location where you are on camp. So, but for the time that we had it in a safe place that I could use it, my entire 6 months, apart from obviously speaking to my mum and dad, I had Auto Trader open on a tab 24/7, and I was looking at cars. Now, I've always wanted a German car. At the time, my mum, I think, had some sort of Mercedes, like a Highline E-Class or something like that, so fairly well spec'd. And yeah, I always said, I'm going to buy a Mercedes. So I looked at the Merc lines, I looked at Audi, BMW. Still to this day, I don't really like BMW. It's just my preference. Mercedes at the time, if you remember, probably about 9 years ago, 10 years ago, they weren't that nice, almost like old spec. The interiors weren't that good. I think Audi at the time were the kings, in my opinion. So I narrowed it down to, I want an Audi. Which one I had was really kind of up to me at the time. Did I want a big Audi? Did I want a small Audi? Anyway, I decided I like the A5 shape. Again, A5, S5, RS5. RS5 was just a little bit out of reach for me. I could have gone for it. However, I didn't want to have a job where I paid specifically for a car. As much as I love cars, it wasn't kind of in my budget, let's say. I probably was about 10 grand out of an RS5. But, you know, still, I went for an S5. I looked at it, I spec'd the best one, where can I buy it from, etc., etc. So the day I landed from Afghanistan, literally, obviously, we had a debrief, blah, 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 went to bed early, woke up, so literally the first full day back in the UK, I took a taxi. Well, actually, before the taxi story, I came back on the very first day, you know, that half a day that I was back. I went to go and check at my time the Fiat Punto still. It was covered in green mold. Again, Northern Ireland's quite a wet country. Car wouldn't start. The alternator was dead. I had the RAC out that day, and he was trying to hit it with a hammer and everything, you know, on the alternator just to try and get it moving. The battery was completely dead. So at that time, I knew anyway. So this is where the taxi story comes in. I went there. I had already pre-reserved the car, took it for a test drive, and I bought it on the spot with cash. Now, looking back on it, in terms of my financial knowledge now, I think I may have made a mistake in terms of paying in cash, because they were really kind of forcing it down my throat. You need to go finance, all that sort of stuff. But I bought it cash because, again, I was young, I had the cash, I didn't believe in debt at the time, and I thought, right, I'm going to go and buy it. So I went and bought it, drove the 20 minutes kind of back to camp. I took the long road, of course. It was the most powerful car I had at the time, 4-wheel drive, beautiful. And then I started the research. Now this is where something clicked in my brain. I thought, right, I have just bought the most expensive thing I have ever bought, and I've parted with the most cash I have ever parted with. So how do I look after this thing, like, really well? So as you do, it was still the early stages of YouTube, so it's not what it is now, and there's probably not as many companies as there are now, and as many kind of influencers and detailing YouTubers. But still, I found a few channels, a few brands, all US brands, of course, and I started the research, and literally I was hooked just by the videos. I literally went to YouTube, like on their channel, I pressed the videos, earliest video ever, so like the oldest video, and I literally just had them on play, bang, bang, bang. I didn't go anywhere, apart from food, like shower and stuff, and I was just watching these videos. So once I got a good level of knowledge, video-wise, I decided to, right, let's go and spend some money now. So again, I still had a little bit of money left from my car purchase, and I went into Halfords. I think that is the stepping stone, the gateway for pretty much everybody within this world. I went to Halfords, and I think I bought like 2 of everything in that shop. It's not hard to do, because even back then they didn't even stock that much. I think they only had Maguire's and Autoglim. So I bought 2 of everything. I bought all these polishes and these terrific cloths. Now looking back on it, obviously it's an experience and it's a laugh to actually kind of think about it. But anyway, took it back, went straight to the military wash bay. So basically it looks a bit like this unit, but with no roofs, no walls. It's got this huge industrial pressure washer that kind of chucks out high flow, high PSI, and obviously that's designed to wash all the military trucks, as you would imagine. And I just started, so wheels, tires, I think I used the wheel cleaner as a tire cleaner. I used the detailing brush to agitate it. Anyway, it took me probably 20 attempts to get my process right that day, you know, and I was like, this chemical doesn't work, that chemical doesn't work. But eventually I had a blast. It was freezing, water was cold. I had a little sports holder where I had all my kind of like the brushes and the towels and a few of the products. So I think that day I used all the Maguire's line, all the Autoglim line, and I think actually as a test I bought, by the way, I didn't realize I was doing it as a test. I just, as much as I could kind of grab, I think I bought like a Halfords own or something, kind of range. I can't remember what it was, but it was like one product, which was, even to this day I remember, it was absolutely horrendous. It was just water in a kind of container. And then what I started doing, I was a bit unlucky because at the time in Northern Ireland there was literally no suppliers of like professional car care products. So I found all these kind of brands on YouTube, and I thought, well, I started Googling, and it was either all mainstream or mainland UK resellers, or of course you can go direct. Now, to get it shipped to a BFPO, which is a British Forces Post Office location, which we were, can be a bit tricky because it has to go through a certain system. They've got to scan it X amount of times, make sure it's not kind of nasty things that can hurt us. So I thought, I'm not going to do that. So luckily at the time I had some leave coming up, and every leave I used to kind of go and see my parents. So I used to book a ferry with the car. Again, the first long drive home, really nice. And what I did prior to that basically is I ordered I remember my first order from a UK car care kind of reseller. It was like a major reseller. I think it was £800-900. Literally, I went on their website and I was like, oh, boom, boom, boom. I just went absolutely kind of nuts. So as you can imagine, my monthly wages used to go into my car care dream, right? And I didn't realize it was a car care dream at the time. It was just literally just my passion. I did it for myself. I had no ulterior motives at all. I did it to kind of lose myself in the process, like a little bit of therapy, as I call it now. So I got home again quite late because the fairies and all that sort of stuff. Went to bed, and then for the next couple of days, I washed my mum's car, my dad's car, and I just kept washing them and washing them. I was away for 2 weeks, and I think I washed their cars about 4 times in 2 weeks. My car about every other day. I was just trialing all these products, and this was my first, and I mean first taste of an, as I call it, an aftermarket professional grade product. Now, looking at it now through my experience, was that the best product I've ever tried? Absolutely not. But to me at the time, imagine you go from using a Halford's own, say, wheel cleaner to go and using a fully dilutable kind of wheel cleaner. So I thought, okay, it's black and white. So since that point, I went back and I was just washing my car as much as I could. So on Wednesdays in the military, if anybody in the chat here is in the military, they'll know sports afternoon on a Wednesday is basically at 12 o'clock. You stop working, so you have your lunch, and you go and play sports. So this is kind of, as it's called, sports afternoon. Now in the summers, again, I used to play cricket, so I actually never used to do what I'm about to say I'm going to do. But in the winter time, autumn time, I literally used to go to the wash bay like I described, and that was my sport afternoon. A lot of people used to go and hide and sleep and play on their Xboxes, but I used to actually go and do something really constructive with my time. I used to go and wash my car, and on Fridays, again, half a day up to 12 o'clock. The reason that is because people are given the opportunity to go and fly home, obviously drive home. It depends where you're based in the world. So again, on the Fridays, I never used to go home every week like a lot of people did. I was just happy kind of staying where I was. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if the weather was good, I used to wash my car, used to polish my car, wax my car, all these type of things. And then I started kind of delving into the world of premium waxes, let's call it. So I started obviously purchasing £50 tubs, £100 tubs, £200 tubs. I used to kind of obviously level up. Some of the waxes I bought in the hundreds, I used to save probably like a month or two or a month and a half, because again, I didn't really have any bills, but I didn't want to go and completely waste all my money. Well, not waste, but invest all my money into car care products when potentially, my car could break or something like that. So I always used to leave a little bit in the bank every month to kind of put into a savings account, and that story's coming next as well. So I basically invested all my money, as much as I could anyway, into all these high-end waxes. I then decided to go and buy a polisher. So again, at this point, there is nothing to do with any business. Now, what used to happen as well, people on the camp, luckily for us, we had our own camp, so it was literally only my regiment, and it wasn't like a big, huge kind of mixed camp. So all the people knew who I was, basically, and they used to walk by, make jokes of me, haha, again, he's doing this, he's doing that. But then eventually they started to come around, and they used to say to me, look, Nick, can you wash my car, valet, detail my car, however you want to call it? So I thought, all right, I'm going to make a price list. And I can't remember what I used to charge, 30, 50 quid, something like that for the exterior. If you want the interior doing, it's a double up, right? So if, let's say, 50 quid, if you want the whole car doing, £100. And trust me, I got some business. People kind of were lazy, said, there you go, he's 100 quid, like £100 to a lot of these people. They were really bad with money. So I was, again, subconsciously, I wasn't aware what I was doing, but I was starting to extract money from people who I knew wanted to spend money. So I thought, all right, if you want this, let's go £50, £50. And it got to a point where, I had a bit of I didn't have any system, but it was almost like a system. So I'm going to do you on a Wednesday, you on a Saturday. If you're not going home, I'm going to do you on a Sunday. And again, this kind of started to fund over the top, almost like a business, to reinvest some of my money back into the stuff that I just wanted to buy. So I bought more shampoos, more wheel cleaners. And this is why I tell people that, especially people that come to the shop, people that call me up, people that email me, but even on the membership, like I proudly say this, I have literally tried every product probably 3 or 4 times just to confirm if my findings, if it was good, I just wanted to make sure it's good, or if it's really bad, I wanted to make sure it's really bad. So sometimes I have bought bad products 3 or 4 times on purpose just to see. But that was a little bit kind of later when I started to really kind of cross-check. But at the time I was just buying all these products, and my room was like literally, it was filled. I had to go to B&Q and buy these big plastic boxes. I started stockpiling microfiber, because obviously I realized how important microfiber was, so 3-4 drying towels, 20-30 polishing, not polishing cloths, but removal cloths of polish, wax, stuff like that. Interior cloths, I had a whole big box, like a 200-liter box of like interior cloths, wheel towels. So I started to build. Seriously, if I could see the future, 10 years ahead, I would probably take pictures. This would make one hell of a journal of my old setup, kind of my old room with all the towels and chemicals, stuff like that. So anyway, Northern Ireland happened. I'm going to leave the Northern Ireland era. Obviously, you saw or you heard exactly kind of what happened there. So I then requested a transfer. Again, I won't go into the story why the transfer is, but yeah, I was pretty much tired of being in Northern Ireland. I requested a transfer, so I got posted down in Hampshire. Now, this is quite an interesting phase of my life. So I got posted down in Hampshire / the Surrey border. So I was in the Banker's Belt, as they call it. So really affluent area, really beautiful. I've never really kind of lived down south. This was my first experience, and obviously because I like driving, I used to obviously every weekend, even now, I will make excuses to Kelly, and she'll come with me. Even on the way home, sometimes I say, look, let's go and take the long road. And what I mean by the long road is let's go and drive for 40 minutes somewhere and then come back. But even back then, because I was fresh into that car scene, I was super keen. I had a really powerful car. So yeah, I thought, let's go for a drive. And down south in the summer, there's more of a probability of warmer, drier weather. So in the summer, long nights, drives, all that sort of stuff. Used to absolutely love it. So I got posted down to Aldershot. This was a mixed camp this time, so it was a bit of a difficulty for me, because when I'm in the wash bay, it used to be the main walkway for the military police. I used to get gripped weekly. Kelly can confirm that. I had some high senior, kind of colonels, even at that colonel level, used to grip me really hard, say, what the hell are you doing here? Like, this is for military vehicles. I'm there with my bag and everything, so kind of waxing the car. So it was a mix with the military police, the logistics corps. So the logistics corps is where obviously huge trucks, all that sort of stuff, transporters, petrol tankers, and they use the wash bay quite often. So I used to kind of have to innovate a way where if a truck pulled in behind me, obviously I've got to give him priority. It's at the end of the day, military camp. And I used to have to move forward, like kind of do a loop, and I used to have to be really careful with it. But this is the thing. So when I moved to Aldershot, I ended up going to the Nürburgring, obviously to put the car up to its test, as I call it. It was a weird and wonderful experience, but I got speaking to this German guy. I was on a hill. I watched all the YouTube videos prior to going there, and obviously when I was there, it confirmed that everybody was there with their bonnets open, cooling the car off. So I was just chilling, And this guy was there, German guy. So we had a conversation. He's German, I'm English. He couldn't speak English. It was a broken conversation, but we had a bit of a common understanding, which was the cars. So we got talking, and he had a Sepang blue. I remember this. So a Sepang blue Audi RS3. And I looked at the car. It was, 32 degrees, beautiful weekend. And the paint was obviously popping. It's like a pearl blue. Huge brakes. Never seen brakes that size on a car of that size as well. So I kind of extracted a bit of information from him to actually ask, what is this car? What's the power? All that sort of stuff. So I really fancied the car. So I came back, and this is again where I think I made another bad decision, because the car was technically, so my current car at the time was technically paid off. So I decided to go and sell a debt-free car to go and buy my first ever finance car. So obviously it was about double the value, I'll say. And to this day, I don't think I should have ever sold that car, because I was in a really good position financially. Pretty much had no debt apart from like a phone bill and an internet bill, and that is it. So all the money I used to earn, believe it or not, I used to keep. I used to spend a little bit on food and the rest on car care. So I used to have an unbelievable life back then. So anyway, I bought this RS3, brand new, highly spec'd, one of the high spec cars in the country. The only thing it didn't have is a panoramic roof and those wing-back seats. I preferred the stock seats, which were already like kind of sport seats, half leather, half Alcantara with the beautiful lines. And the pan roof, I didn't really need, so I wasn't too bothered. But it had all the good stuff, so like the sports packages, media packages, sports exhaust again. That 5-cylinder was absolutely beautiful. So I bought that car. It was Panther Black. So if you ever seen a Panther Black car, mainly it's used in Hondas and Audis. So Panther Black is a color where if you look at it in overcast conditions, it looks black, but there's something about it that you're not sure. The sun kind of peeks out, and my specific color code for Audi, it used to turn green, blue, purple, mainly purple. Now, if you look at my Instagram profile, I think about 30-40 posts ago, I did a picture of that car, and it was a friend of mine's a really good photographer, and he took that picture. It was basically super hot day, no clouds, and it just caught all the purple fleck and everything. So it was a very nice color. I didn't realize at the time just how special of a color that was, because I was still a rookie within the kind of industry. Now, again, I looked after that car as best as I could. Now, unfortunately, I had a little bit of an accident. So I had a low speed impact collision on the M25, wasn't paying attention. I had to drive to work sometimes. So, well, not to work. So we used to go to schools and recruit, kind of recruit, but kind of like a showcase of the military. So I wasn't paying attention. It was super early in the morning. I caught it just at the last minute. So the M25, obviously, as you know, super early in the morning, is a gridlock. So I just caught the traffic jam right in front of me. I slammed the brakes on. Still, I probably hit him at 10-15 mile an hour. I swerved just in time as well. So I only caught my driver's side wing. So the damage that I caused was the front bumper on the right was gone, well, kind of indented. The complete light cluster was smashed. The bonnet was crumpled. And obviously the whole front end, obviously, as you know, if you know cars, it's like a crumple zone. So I was extremely lucky, because having looked at the car afterwards at the body shop, that if I'd hit him any faster, the crumple zone looked like a spike. And it was about this far away from the engine block. So if it was any faster or any straighter, I think that car would have been a total write-off. So it would have been a really bad. So I was really lucky. I had someone looking over me that day. I was absolutely gutted though. So that kind of put to bed a history of me of never having a real crash. But even still, that wasn't a real crash. I wasn't, doing 80 mile an hour. So anyway, we took it to an Audi approved repair shop. and I wasn't too keen on it, but at the end of the day, it was part of the insurance payout, so it was £9,000 the damage cost. I've still got the picture on my phone of the bill. I'm always going to keep it forever as a reminder to me never to do this stuff again. But I'll be completely honest with you. When the car came back, the paint job kind of level was actually really good. So the peel was matched exactly to the rest of the car. Because don't forget, they only resprayed the bumper and the bonnet, and I think they blended the wings in. So it wasn't really kind of a lot of work. And yeah, it wasn't too bad. There was a few high spots of kind of overspray. So this is where the story really kicks into overdrive. So I had a choice at this point. I could either drive home and book like a long weekend off work to go and drive all the way up north to go and get all my kit, because most of my heavy kit, as I called it, so the repairs, polishes and all this, by the way, over time I upgraded obviously the polishing system. So at the time I was rolling with the repairs polisher, so I could go home. My parents' house has got a really like a big garage. It's probably a 3-car kind of garage, which they don't use for cars, which is really daft. It's more of a storage place for them now, but still I could get my car in there and really do a full paint correction on it. Or unbeknown to me, which I found out just after the car crash, is one of my friends, or at the time I'm going to call him an acquaintance, his name is John, was literally 300 meters away from my camp. So I thought, I'll get in touch with him. So basically I approached him. I said, look, this is my car. He's kind of a little bit, I'm going to really kind of emphasize this, he a little bit heard of me on the detailing forums. In fact, I'm going to have to touch on that as well. So on the detailing forums, this is where obviously the branding, some of the branding, that's where it comes from. The number plates, and also eventually around the car scene, I got known as the guy who always had the shiny car. So I never used to win any shiny awards because my car was not on financed air suspension and on financed wheels, but it was literally the cleanest car at the car show. So no swirls, no damage. It was literally perfection, but I still didn't win anything. But anyway, kind of he knew me a little bit because on the forums, there's a few big detailing forums, and back then a good friend of mine, Draz, which I think sometimes he watches these videos, me and him used to always talk on there. That's how actually I met him, through the forum, and we later on and now have become friends because of this. But me and him always used to have the battles of the shiny Saudis, all that sort of stuff. So he heard of me a little bit on the forums. He recognized my name. He obviously recognized the car because obviously, as you know, on a forum, to get any good attention, you get you ask a question, but you also post a picture of your shiny car on a detailing forum to get more answers to what you're trying to get. So eventually the car pictures used to really do the rounds. They used to be shared. So he came to me, I came to him and I said, look, John, I had a bit of an accident. Obviously it's been repaired. As you can see, the quality of work is quite good. In fact, the car didn't really need polishing because it was that good. I think there was a few spots the size of this piece of paper that needed a heavy clay bar treatment and probably a refine and polish to kind of bring the car back to the rest of the car's appearance. So he said, okay, let's do it. And at the same time, I said, John, you know, if this works out really well, can I come and work for you free of charge? So it caught him a bit of God. He was like, well, why would anybody be stupid enough to go and ask me to go and work for me? However, I was that person, and I was not stupid because you're going to see where the story kind of leads in a second. So his main man polished the car pretty much with me. This was my trial of fire, and I literally got to use all the machines, all their towels. They were a big importer even to this day, right now, live, of pretty much the most premium brands known in the polishing game, the coatings game, and all the things that come with that. So, they're quite a big force within the car care industry. So, literally, imagine, I have never ever been to a detailing place in my life. I'm now sat there on the floor polishing my own car with some cool lights, some cool machines, which I kind of already experienced because I had a few of them, but not the line that they had. And I got to play with the flex machines, the Rupes machines, a few rotaries as well. Not really on my car, but still a little bit in the future. So anyway, the car came out absolutely perfect. I've still got the picture. It literally looked like liquid glass. And now we decided to go, my first ever experience, we decided to go for a coating package. This was a 2-stage coating at the time, version 2 of that company's. I think it was G-Technic, so I'm going to be completely transparent. So yeah, I think it was like crystal serum light, I think. It was one of the first time it transitioned from the lacquer coating to the CSL, so the crystal serum light, and I think the XOV1 or 2 was at the time. So we used that first wash again. I never had a coated car. I looked at it on the first wash. I followed all the steps. Obviously, don't wash the car in the first week. Don't introduce any chemicals, all that sort of stuff. But when I eventually waited to wash my car with all the kit that I amassed, I was blown away. Obviously, the beading, I've never seen beading like that in my life. I mean, a wax car is great, don't get me wrong. And I used to wax my car like 14 times a week, pretty much. So I had this much wax on my car, but still, when you've got a synthetic resin delivered coating, it was something I've never seen before. So I came back to him a couple of weeks later and I said, John, what do you think about my offer? I'm currently in the military. My specific job title, I'm not going to shoot anybody in the foot that's currently in that job title. So I'm going to be quite diplomatic with what I say, but my job title at the time was, if you do not do any work, as in if no work needs to be done, you are not working. So when Kelly comes on this, she'll really clarify this, because she was broken with me at some point. She said, how can you get paid this money and not work? I was lucky. So 2 years of my life really built this dream. So I said to him, look, currently I've got no work on. I'm getting paid full whack from the military. Can I come and work for you? So I'm not going to go and do what everybody else does and go and play on the Xbox and drink every day. And that's what the boys were doing. But I said, no, I want to come work for you. I do not want a single penny from you. I want to come. I want to polish. You've seen my skills. Let me polish your car, somebody else's kind of old car that nobody cares about. Let me really show you if you really need to. But I want to come work for you free of charge. You don't have to provide me with any food, any drink. Just open the door for me, please. And he said, okay, let's do it. So obviously came back, Kelly, I've got this free job. I'm going to be polishing this car. I was really excited because, again, imagine when you're super passionate about something like football and a big football team says, well, come on then, come on in. Let's come to our training days. Let's come to our games, all free of charge, of course, but still, come on in. Imagine how you would feel. So to me, this was the World Cup opportunity. So I came, and the first car that I ever polished was a Ferrari 458. Literally, like, we agreed on this midweek. He said, okay, you can come in on Monday. It was a Ferrari 458. I've still got the pictures, I think, on one of my older, longer videos. In fact, I'll show you a little bit as well. So it was a Ferrari 458. It was brand new for a client. It was an existing client that the company had for a very long time. So obviously I was let loose on a car that was worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. So in fact, if you want to see my young face, look at this. That is me with a selfie with this said Ferrari 458. So yeah, it was quite an experience. We then found out that the rear quarter or the rear hatch, where the engine bay is, it was re-sprayed without the customer actually knowing it was resprayed. So imagine a brand new car, and we saw this orange peel, and there was a defect in the paint. So obviously we could see that there was something not right about this paint. But anyway, we got it fixed. We had the total surface protection package on it, so exterior, interior, wheels off, the whole thing. So I was like that for quite a while. A lot of the maintenance customers who had the coating packages, I used to come in, and I used to do their maintenance washes while they had a cup of coffee, and I got to use all these different products again. So I was bouncing the range. So at this point I was funding my own passion with my own products, but then I got to go and work somewhere for free and use different products that I potentially would never have bought or I've never heard of, and I tried it. So I got to use my first ever professional pressure washer. I think it was one of those big Karcher, with Karcher Professional that looked like a big wheelie bin. So it was 3,000-4,000 pound pressure washer. It was hot. It was a cold pressure washer. It was everything. So like literally, I was in heaven, guys. I had to use, like, first time I used wheel woolies, ease detailing brushes, all this type of stuff. And this guy was literally importing stuff from the States, Europe, all sorts. So I was trying it. So it was a very good experience for me. But the most important thing, upstairs they had a shop, quite a substantial shop, and in my time off I used to come back and buy stuff from them anyway. I think I got like 5 or 10% discount, but the discount really did not affect me. Even if they charged me full price, I don't really care. And I used to come back probably every 2 weeks, I would say, whenever I used to run low. And I used to buy all kind of my supplies from them guys. I used to have my favorites. Every time something new was released by a big international brand, they were one of the first to usually get it. They used to actually get sampled a lot of the stuff. So obviously when a big company used to sample it, they used to send them like, oh, here's 10 bottles. Go and give it to your staff. Try it out. See how you like it. So I was obviously one of the first persons. Like in fact, I will tell you a very cool story. It was late one night, and Kelly obviously texted me saying, "Nick, where are you?" I said, "I'm still in work." So at this time, this guy John had a Ford Focus RS, a blue one, so that pearly one, and I was one of the first people in the world to try the new Crystal Serum Ultra. Or black, can't remember. I think it was black because Ultra came afterwards. But basically, it's the same thing. It's an accredited coating only, 7 years at the time. Now it's 10. It's an absolute pain in the bum to apply. So some coatings you can spread, let them flash 60, 90 seconds, 2 minutes even, depends on the temperature. Wipe them off, and they're beautiful. This coating you had to do panel by panel. If you mess it up, then you need to polish it. In fact, at one point we left the high spot, which we had to get the polisher back out and go like this. But this was with John, and he was the one who polished the car, so you could see the high spots. I was one of the first people to try Crystal Serum Black or Ultra. It was part of the black package, if you remember, back in the day. It was an unlabeled bottle. It looked basically like a shot of alcohol. Like literally, I had such a blast. So, and at the time, again, I was constantly buying product. We even got invited to a detailing show. So, what was it? Waxstock. We got a spot inside the arena. So, again, I think I probably had. This was a detailing show. So this was on a slightly different level to your usual big car show. But still, I expected every car to be inside the arena, to be concourse ready, like a Pebble Beach concourse, cars on stilts. A few were, but still, some of the cars that won awards, I thought, come on, that's got swirls. This is a detailing show or a car care detailing event. So cars that win shouldn't technically have any defects. Now, guess what? My car, coated, swirl free. There's still pictures circulating around it. So it was really kind of an eye-opener for me. I thought, right, these guys, how can you win a show because you've got 20 20 grand wheels from Vossen and you've got an AccuAir system that's going to cost you 6 grand, yeah, the car looks nice, but it's swilled to hell. So how are you winning a detailing show? But still, each to their own. I believe I won that show. In terms of the cleanest car, maybe not the most modified car or the fastest car there, but the cleanest car, or one of them anyway. So I didn't win anything. Anyway, so me and John, again, I actually had to go a little bit back to work, and obviously my time frame started to be a bit more sporadic. So I used to come in for like 3 days a week, 2 days a week, 4 days a week. So obviously he kind of understood, but then eventually I said, look, John, I want to be really consistent. I can't be consistent, in kind of, basically I'm going to have to kind of leave it. But the advantage of me being there, I think I was there for, I can't quote this time frame, probably 6 months, maybe even 12 months. I learned the business side of detailing. Now, this is very important, and this is why I believe, I had, and I still have, probably a bigger advantage than probably 99% of the companies out there, because I learned how to do professional shop detailing, which is you've got a time frame, this is the price point, the customer wants this, off you go, right? And this was where I really learned it. So I couldn't mess around. I couldn't go and wash a car for 5 hours or take 25 minutes per wheel to clean. You had to be a little bit quicker, more professional. This wasn't my car. This is where I realized. And then some customers used to come in and say, look, I've only got £1,000 to spend. I want what £1,000 buys me. Obviously, we used to say, look, if you spend 1,500, 2 grand, a little bit more, you can get X, Y, Z. The customer said, no, my budget's 1,000. So I learned to leave defects because it wasn't in the budget. So if there was a deep scratch that needed wet sanding, I had to leave it, because at the end of the day, he's just pretty much paid for a level 1 or stage 1 enhancement detail, which will not touch wet sanding or heavy compounding, which was a bit of a shame. My OCD was a bit clicking, but again, I understood the process as to why. And then obviously in the shop, I saw customers. I never served the customer, so I'll be completely honest, I never served the customer. Obviously, don't forget, I work there for free. I technically shouldn't be there. So it was really a great experience, but I can't go and serve a customer. But still, I listen, because imagine a building like this. You've got like a mezzanine upstairs with a shop, and I could hear conversations. Customers were saying, well, what's the difference between X, Y, and Z? And I used to hear how the answer was. Now, whether the answers were right, correct at the time, it all depends on what the product questions were. But I still heard 57 variations of answers for 57 different type of questions. And my mind started ticking, and I got to meet some people. So in fact, who did I meet? Was it Paul Dalton? Have you ever heard of him? He's the guy on Top Gear and Fifth Gear, the world's most expensive detailer. In fact, if you type him in, the world's most expensive car washer, charges like 5 grand a car wash and £25,000 details, and he uses like ridiculous enzyme-based waxes that look like rocks, and you have to kind of rub them on your hands. I met him. He came down there for certain things, like to kind of speak and kind of try to promote his new product line, because at the time he was, I think he was launching at the time. So I got to meet some people. I heard how people were spoken to. I heard how they spoke to the employees in terms of the customers. So the business side was at the time, I did not have a clue. Honestly, I did not have a clue about what exactly my brain subconsciously was kind of absorbing. But now that I know, and if I knew back then exactly what I should be listening for, specific detail, obviously, hindsight's wonderful, isn't it? But at this time, it started to click on me, right? I thought, it's always been my dream, even when I was in Northern Ireland, and before I met Kelly, I remember having long conversations with my parents, specifically my mum, because obviously, as you know, mums want to know everything, what food are you eating, what shower gel you use and all that sort of stuff. So we used to talk, because my mum is a business orientated person. I used to throw ideas at her and be like, imagine I did this, imagine I did that. So my mum used to be a listening ear, but because my mum was very harsh in terms of she's very honest, she used to obviously not be like a cheerleader for me. She loves that phrase. Like, she's not going to just stand there and clap for me with anything I decide. If I say, Mum, I want to be a bin man, she might have a different response if I say, Mum, I want to do something else. By the way, there's no wrong or right answer with any of the options, but still, my mum obviously has been around the block, all that sort of stuff. So I used to say to her, what happens if one day, all this knowledge I've amassed, I've tried thousands of bottles of different lines of product. What happens if I can have my own line, and I can use some of my knowledge to iron out some of the pitfalls that I see? Because, again, I used to wash the cars outside, inside. Northern Ireland was a very cold, wet, windy country, but still wet, harsh winters. Not really with snow, but like rain, because it's coming from the west. So lucky for us guys on the mainland, the island of Ireland takes the brunt of it. And when it doesn't, it's the big storms, obviously, that come to the UK or the mainland. So I washed under some serious conditions, freezing cold, baking hot, all exposed. So I could see the pitfall of a product. I could see, right, well, this bakes on too fast if it's wet, or if it's dry, or if it's hot. And I used to really kind of think, I'd be like, well, why isn't this wiping off? I've only left it on for, 2 minutes. Why is this not doing it? So I used to ask myself the frequently asked questions that you find on the website, but I used to make them up myself. And I used to try different ways of removing things, wet towels, dry towels. Again, I had no assistance in this. I just used to stumble into a solution. You know what? I wish I had a camera. Imagine I had this camera back in my days of Northern Ireland and in the Hampshire days. Oof, guys, it would have been some seriously funny content. By the way, I can see the questions are flying in. So if you've still got any more questions, again, if you've got a pertinent point you want me to stop at and delve deeper, please ask away. In fact, before I continue, I'm going to take my famous podcast drink. So I learned these things, and I thought, what happens if I make my own line? What happens if I have my own business? Where's the world going to lead me to? Now, as a personality trait that I have, obviously it's in my DNA, a lot of people can take me the wrong way, which is still being proven now. People think I'm something that I'm not, and sometimes don't think I'm something that I really am, and vice versa, But as a little personality trait, I'm always double thinking and triple thinking things through. And always, as you know in life, anybody who's been around the block in this chat would have known that no matter what you do, you're going to get some problems. Whether it's relationship, money, life progression goals, all these things. You've always got problems. But at the time, I always thought, well, what happens if this fails? What happens if I burn through all this cash? I like where I am. Obviously, that comfort thing. You've got to be very careful with comfort. Well, what happens if I leave like a well-paid job to go and do something where I don't earn money? All these questions started to happen. Now, obviously, I'm fast-forwarding again. Obviously, Kelly was there, and Kelly saw my passion. Kelly bought me a lot of products, so like for my birthdays, Christmases, she used to import from the States some crazy amount of product, and sometimes really expensive, because she was about 3-4 levels higher than me in the military, and she was on some very good money. I mean, seriously good money. So to her, sometimes she's very scrupulous with money too, very careful. That's why, honestly, she's really solid, so she doesn't go out every weekend. In fact, she never went out when I was with me. It was by her own choice. So imagine when you earn some really good money and you don't spend it, what happens? It builds up in the bank. So she had quite a lot of big built up money in the bank, same as me, but not on her level, obviously, because she earned more per month. And this, obviously, the thing that I've just said is going to come a little bit later in the story. So eventually, Kelly was like, she started getting on my case, thinking, Nick, well, what are you going to do? You keep talking about it. Are you going to do it or not? Exactly like with this new car. I am literally overthinking the most basic things. So I sold my car, and before I sold it, I said to her, right, I think I'm going to get this car. She said, okay, well, go and get it then. No, I need to wait. So currently, I've watched 57 million videos of every car reviewer on this specific car. I've been to 3 dealerships. I'm probably going to go to another 3 to go and see the same car. I've test driven it. I know what it's like. I love it, but I'm still overthinking it. So what happened is during this timeline after I left the detailing company is I was starting to come to the end of my term of this dream job that I had of doing no work and getting paid for it. So the way it worked was you either get returned to your unit, like your home unit. So my home unit was Northern Ireland. You could see why this was a problem. I had a bit of an issue in Northern Ireland. I didn't want to go back to it. That was the issue, I like the mainland. I can jump into the car. This is what people don't realize who have never lived abroad. Like I could jump in the car from London pretty much and drive up north, go and drive, to Kelly's house, all that sort of stuff. No problem. Over there, you've got a bit of a problem. You've got to get ferries, like if you're driving your car, or you've got to go on a plane, which again is useless. So that was the problem. And of course, the main problem, I would believe in Kelly, because that's not what you want to do. Again, in long-term relationships work, but still, it's a bit crap when you're literally over the sea and like you can't see each other, because the military will always find a way to keep you busy doing nothing. Or it was the choice of I need to transfer. So where we lived, like I said, we had a major Royal Logistics Corps. That was the main home camp and the home regiment. So I thought, look, I'm done with the military. My plan was, I'm gone, I'm done. I've done my job, my real job. I've been over there and, I tried to do my bit for the country. Nothing will ever compare anymore. So this whole being for 2 years down south was more of an eye-open for me and starting me to get ready to leave. But then they hit me with this thing, you're going back. And I thought, damn. So I transferred, but they made false promises. So I was meant to transfer directly into the camp that I was already living in. That was the whole game plan. So I could literally just not even move. I think I would just have to move rooms. But instead, they sent me to their sister regiment in Oxford, so in Bicester to be exact. So if you know the Bicester, is it the luxury outlet village? In and around there. Huge camp. So as you can imagine, I had to drive an hour and 40 minutes in that orange beast up the M25, up M40, because I refused to live in that camp. I didn't know anybody. I was an infantryman. We looked upon other regiments in a slightly different way. So we're the elite, all that type of stuff that kind of drill into you in basic training. So I was living with people, or potentially living with people that I didn't know one. I didn't know a single person. And do you really think I'm going to go and live somewhere where I've got my partner, my passion, an hour and 40 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes south of me? I don't think so. So I used to basically, that was my rebellion against the British military. Here you go, here's your room. No, you can take your room and put it where the sun doesn't shine, and I'm going to drive that car on my basic military wage up and down every day, 5 days a week. My fuel bill was absolutely astronomical, like truly astronomical. But anyway, we kind of fixed that. So when I had obviously the Mustang, I met a lot of people who are still my friends in the Surrey kind of area, fairly affluent. So obviously when I used to go to these car shows, again, I was the guy with the shiny Mustang this time. So I started really moving within the UK Mustang community, which isn't very big as you can imagine, probably 5,000-6,000 strong. Which, if you think about it, it's not that big when some BMW forums have got 100,000 people on there. Just one forum. So with this was the whole community. But still, most of the community was social media ignorant. So realistically, I had a market of 500 to 1,000 people that I ever kind of showcased my car with, spoke to, stuff like that. Kelly came with me to a few of the shows. So I was the guy with a shiny orange Mustang, and I started building a lot of friends. But then again, the whole thought of me, right, am I going to transfer? Am I going to start this business? Again, I was a bit shot in the foot, if you think about it. I was just about to put my notice in to leave the military and go and start the business. And they decided to transfer me. But what a lot of people didn't know, that at the time, when I was still in the military, we started researching, and when I say we, it was me and Kelly. We started researching what it takes to build a car care line. Now, again, don't forget, I'm proud to say this, and I'm sometimes ashamed to say this. This is our first business. You're bound to make mistakes. You are not an expert, so we were newcomers into a world that I thought would take me in very well. Boy, was I wrong. But anyway, that will that will come in a second. So we started researching while I was still in the military, basically manufacturers of bottles, caps, triggers, labels, websites, obviously, and the main thing, the actual liquid products. Now, what I found out fairly quickly is you've got a big spread. So you can go to America. There are some fantastic chemists over there, absolutely fantastic. And I was in touch with two of them. Probably the two biggest in the world, or one of the two of some of the biggest, if you know what I mean. And then obviously the cost of getting it over there, the actual health and safety in the States isn't as tight around detailing products that is in the UK. So some of the products we were trying to develop, we found out that specific line had contained from the US carcinogenics or potential carcinogenics. So as you can imagine, that would never pass a UK law. So again, that was scrapped fairly quickly. But even when you could make a safe product in the States, the shipping costs, the safety datas, sheets could vary a little bit. They are kind of standard in terms of, some raw material names may be the same, some may be different, but still there might be some stuff that is under the EU regulation, which at the time we were in the EU, and even now the EU regulations for safety are still the same technically. Because when we left the EU, I thought, yes, let's go and get some proper rolls. No, we're still obviously kind of locked tight a little bit with stupid 1920s EU laws. But anyway, so we started researching, and what I found within the UK now, I'm moving into the UK segment, there is a big spread. You've got certain brands who offer and advertise their manufacturing services, which again, I would never go to, because think about it this way. If you're a brand that manufactures and you've got someone comes in with cash, a good substantial amount of cash, and says, look, I want you to make me the best product. Do you really think they're going to make the best product? Of course they're not, because if the best product existed in that specific category of product, so let's say car shampoo, they would have it in their line. So of course it's in the best interest of the said company to keep the best formulas for themselves. So I would always be at a disadvantage. So that idea was fairly quickly also scrapped. And then we started researching independent chemical companies, which is very hard because you've got your usual names. I won't mention who they are because let's just not talk about the market that I'm in, because it can come back on me. But yeah, you can have certain chemist kind of teams who advertise bespoke formulations at very low quantities that cannot physically be bespoke, because if you've ever been, like I have, inside these plants, their mixing tanks are absolutely massive, right? So how can you offer a bespoke product at, an amount that you can probably use in a couple of weeks as a home user? It doesn't work. So I started doing a little bit more digging. Again, this is where the research really kind of got my knowledge level really high. And a lot of people, I still say this, a lot of people say they do all this research. No, they don't. You can tell straight away by the packaging, by the consistency of the product, exactly where they're going. It's obvious to me anyway. So those companies were scrapped. And now what you've got left is you've got a very small selection of handful chemical teams who can kind of give you what you want if you give them enough money, right? Pretty much is, if you want to play, you've got to pay. I need to get that phrase stamped into my wall somewhere. So again, we contacted some of these people. Some people turned out to be utter clowns, and some people turned out to be absolutely like unbelievable people. I'm just checking. I thought that was a battery light on, but I forgot. I've got consistent power. So we found out that some of these people are complete clowns. They offered us something that could be done. We took base raw samples of them, and they were absolutely kind of horrific. If you're going to sample somebody, a potential new client, are you going to sample them with an average kind of a bottle of something? Of course you're not. Well, I'd like to think not, but we got sampled with this, and I thought, please go. Anyway, me and Kaylee, after some very diligent research, we found a team that we thought was the right fit for us. The way the conversations happened, their capabilities. So we did all this research, because don't forget, I'm getting on to this point. This was still done in the military. And we were about to drop our entire life savings into a brand new business. And if you look at the statistics of new businesses, if anybody is in business in this chat, in fact, Andy Edda, you might be able to help with this one if you're still listening, my friend. The statistics of businesses going bust within the first 12 months is absolutely huge. So, I'm just checking. So we were about to drop all this money into something that, again, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to waste money, you're going to buy things that should never have been bought. I'm getting to that point. And still we went ahead with it. So we found a chemistry team, still in the military. At this point, we obviously every weekend I'm either going up to see my parents with Kelly, or in the Midlands we were going up to go and see her parents. Now the decision was, right, where are we going to set up our business? Where, like, are we going right up north? Are we staying down south? Or are we going in the Midlands? So we make a joint decision that the Midlands is probably the best place. I've got no connection to the Midlands. I came up here with zero connections. I mean, absolutely zero. Within probably a 70-mile area of where I am currently, I didn't know anybody. I didn't speak to anybody. And that's it. So, but I came here for her. So obviously she wanted to be closer to her mum and dad, all that sort of stuff. So I thought, look, if you're passionate enough, you can make any location work. So while we were still in the military again, we came up here and we signed for this property that you see me in here. It was very hard for us to find a building. Again, if anybody watches this live or watches this on replay in the future will know that if you're a first-time tenant in a first-time business in car care, that any landlord pretty much puts a blacklist against you because it's put car. So it's car detailing, car care. Anything with cars, usually in commercial units, is a blacklist because people think that you're going to be dumping oil, you're going to be changing tires. Again, as you can see, this is probably cleaner than most houses around the country. But still, we found this place, and luckily for us, Millennium Business Park is the best business park in Mansfield. It's got some really big businesses, some international businesses reside here as well. And this was quite a good kind of deal for us. So we signed the deal. I put the money down, okay? And this all happened on a weekend, so I'm just giving you a real short timeline here. Monday morning, I get into my new job where I transferred into, and I walk in 9:01 a.m. with my piece of paper saying I'm signing off. So basically, here's my notice. One sec, Andy's answered. I hear you, mate. Scary as hell when dropping life savings on a business idea and a dream. Fair play. I think you and Kelly are doing it right. Yeah, huge odds, Andy, and still huge odds against us. So I walked in with a piece of paper, A4 paper, Kelly helped me with this because I was really nervous. And I said, "Good morning, Sergeant." Again, imagine first day in your job, even though I've done my rounds, but still, it's my first day with my superiors. I said, "Good morning," and here's my piece of paper to give you my notice. I don't think they have ever seen that in their long careers. Pretty much a new guy coming in saying hello, goodbye. Now, what we didn't know at the time, and this is where you're going to hear the hidden truth about the military. Obviously, all the false promises were made to me. You can stay in this camp with Kelly, you can do all this, blah, blah, blah. You've done your time, so you kind of get a little bit of priority over somebody who's just coming out of basic training. I didn't get any of this. Again, I didn't expect it, but I thought, come on, at least put me in the same camp as somebody I'm living with, which is a bit daft. So over the weekend, somehow, because I changed my cab badge on my beret, I activated a 2-year return of service. So imagine this. I haven't received any qualifications, which usually activates a return of service, and I've never received any monetary kind of bonus. So if you take a bonus of say 5-10 grand in the military, you have to stay a certain amount of time so that military can kind of make money off you again. So as you can imagine, I think that's any job. If they give you something, you've got to stay. I didn't do that. On Friday I was one man. Monday morning I was a second man. So 2 years, and my heart started beating because literally 48 hours ago I put a deposit down in this place, started making plans with tradesmen, and now I've got to apparently stay for 2 years. I don't think so. So this is where the rush really happened. They literally ignored all my requests. They said, "Look, we don't care, cancel it." I said, "Well, I can't cancel it because this is probably the biggest landlord in the country that we've passed the cooling period of. So even if I somehow cancel it, I'm going to lose like 3-4 grand in the cancellation fee. That's even if it was possible. But either way, I'm 3 grand, 4 grand down on a deposit." So at this time, obviously, it was a very stressful part of my life. I should be very excited to be starting a business, starting a chemical line, starting a detailing business, and no, this was not the excitement. So still, me and Kelly, sometimes me mainly, because Kelly, because of her job, she sometimes had to rotate her days. So her working days sometimes were my off days. So I used to come up here every weekend without fail. So leave Friday, leave Kelly, and I used to go and live with her mum. So her mum was cool, really nice. Obviously, I was like her second son, and she obviously homed me, fed me. That was the main thing. She used to feed me some good stuff, and I used to be here on my own. Kelly sometimes used to come up as and when she could. and we were painting all this. In fact, yeah, I think that wall I painted all by myself. I got all up there. Kelly came back. I was covered in paint. There was paint on my face. Yeah, like a typical man job. But yeah, we built this unit with passion, with love, and with a ton of stress, because people who've been in a job too long couldn't be decent people and look after somebody. But that's a whole different kind of episode. So eventually, somehow, having involved a few people that I know who had connections within London in terms of kind of Parliament, MPs, all that sort of stuff, it apparently went to as high as some 4-star general commandant, so fairly high up, fourth in charge or fourth in line in charge to the British Army. It went up to him. It went all the way back down. I was about to go to the newspapers and say, look, this is unbelievable. A guy who, all I want to do is leave. I'm not asking for anything of you. Please do your due diligence, sign the paperwork, and kind of make me go. I was refused that right, so that's why I was about to go big with it. Luckily, it never had to go that far. It went all the way up, as I said, to some lieutenant colonel general. Went all the way back down, and one day I got called in, because at the time, obviously I was still living with Kelly in the camp that I used to live in, obviously RS3 and the Mustang days. So I was living there. I was really kind of under some heavy pressure. Oh, and by the time, during this time, we just bought a puppy because I thought this was going to be an easy transition. We bought our dog Jeff, so the Cocker Spaniel. So at this time of stress and driving up here, we've got 8-week-old a golden Cocker Spaniel working, so a working Cocker, absolutely crazy. Yeah, so my experience of starting this business was not as simple as other people's. Anyway, they found a loophole somewhere in an archaic 18th century military handbook that they could somehow discharge me legally without me leaving basically in a coffin. That's the other way of leaving the job. And overnight, I was gone. I was had to drive up to, obviously, Oxford with all my kit, all my body armor, all that sort of stuff. They de-kitted me, read me my rights almost, and said, I need your ID card, off you go. You're now a civilian. That was the biggest and that one of the happiest moments of my life, because I knew that as soon as I leave the gates, things were about to get serious, obviously. So, by the way, I hope everybody's enjoying my little timeline. I may have missed a few bits out, but hope everybody's enjoying it. I'm getting really into it now, so I'm getting really passionate. I'm reliving some painful moments of my life. I haven't mentioned them all, but still some really painful ones. But yeah. So I left. I pretty much. And at this point, so Kelly just put her notice in to come and support me. Again, she was a year off doing her 12 years in the military, which is a big thing, right? To do 12 years, which is like your half service, is big. You can get a big bonus at the end of it. And Kelly was so sick of what happened to me and what they were doing to her. She said, no, I'm going to put my notice in to leave. And guess what they did? They sent her away for like 3 months to Poland in the middle of winter. Yeah, that's life for you. It was horrific. I actually had to go and fly out to Poland to go and meet her. Obviously, she took a weekend off, or she kind of had to book a weekend off, and I flew into Warsaw. Beautiful place, especially obviously Poland had real winters, or it has real winters, so it was real snow. It was really cool. I think it was -10, -15, so it was a really cool weekend. So I was out. I was a little bit stress-free, but I was about to hit my own stresses. So we initially, in this unit, we came in, and again, as I said, I'm being completely transparent with you guys. Kelly, so all the people involved in this business, we dropped our life savings. Um, Basically, there's no way kind of to go around it. The people who say, we sometimes get the people who send us nasty emails, just random people, or people who are own car care shops. I won't mention their names out of the respectful person that I am, because I could literally burn them right now, but I'm not going to do that. And I've still got the messages as proof, as usual. And people like that used to say, well, you just bankrolled. People keep bankrolling you. I'm like, who's bankrolling me? The bank? Yes. No. Because if you start a business, please, I implore anybody who's starting a business, go to the bank tomorrow, ring them up and say, I want to borrow a big, just make up some stupid number, 50, 100, 200 grand, 500,000, right? I want to borrow that sort of money. They will literally laugh at you. They'll say, well, I want to see your accounts for the last 3 to 4 years. It depends which bank you're with. So you need to show your accounts, and also, what's the other one? Accounts and security. Anything over 25,000 pounds in loan value, you need to put your house up for security. So being bankrolled in week 1, day 1 of my business, I wish, because it would have been a lot easier and I would have still had some of my own inner circle kind of money available. But again, we dropped all the money into this. Kelly eventually left. She saved up all her leave, and her plan was to at the start get a normal job to supplement my passion, which you've got to give it to her. She wanted to go and not live her dream, but support my dream. And then, while she was still technically employed by the military, her time wasn't up. She was on leave, so she would never have to go back. But still, she was getting paid by the army. And we were sat one day, and I had an idea where I said, Kelly, I don't think you should go and work. I came out with it. I don't know where it came from. I said, look, I think I can really do this. Put some faith into me. I don't think you should go and work. We'll somehow survive. And she kind of looked at me. I remember this day like it was yesterday. And she said, you know what? I think you're right. I said, come on then, let's go and do it. So all her plans, all her courses that the army were about to pay for, she rang them up on the next working day and basically said, I don't want it. You can take your money, you can give it to somebody else. I don't really care. I don't need any of it. So we started working together. Literally 0 client base, 0 social media, so no YouTube, no Instagram, literally 0. And I said, let's go and do it. Have we got any savings? Nope, because it's in this place. So obviously we opened up this place, and at this point I started to think, right, let's start upscaling the whole kind of car care side of things. Let's start making it real. So from the story that I already told you, the chemical team that we kind of decided to go with, we were happy. They were on a back burner for quite a long time. We said, look, let's just start developing little things now, kind of samples, tweaks, stuff like that. But currently I'm not ready because I've got no storage facilities, I've got nothing. So I don't want to develop something that will eventually, imagine in 18 months or 18 months later when I am ready, I don't want it to go kind of out of the raw materials. That's what I'm trying to say, is the raw materials, I don't want them to go out of, not fashion, but out of, basically in 18 months you can find something else that works better. So I don't want to go and tie up some money and time into, say, a product that I know in 18 to 24 months, a new stronger variant or slicker variant, whichever product it was, would be available. So obviously we put that on the back burner, but eventually when we started getting here, I thought, right, it's time to go and do it. So contacted the team again. I said, right, we're in full gear, let's go. By the way, by this point I ordered 0. I had no bottling, had nothing. I just kind of woke up one day and I said, right, I pulled up all my dusty folders with all my notes, all my research that obviously I amassed probably 2 years prior to this. And I said, right, the first products I want from what I believe is going to kind of be the launch kind of platform is I want A, B, C, D. So I started with 4 product lines. We went back into the R&D stage. We kept sampling it, not happy, go back. Sampling, go back. So realistically, I launched officially the car care brand, I remember January 2019. So if you really think about this, not that long ago in terms of time. It's which is really scary. It feels like I've been in this for 500 years, and it also feels like it was yesterday. So I've had so much fun doing it. So after we sampled all the best variations that we could possibly make, so for example, part of the first launch was the wheel cleaner, and they kept giving me a redesigned formula of, like, you're gonna try this, not happy, not foamy enough, not aggressive enough in terms of the reactions. So they started to pump up the reactive materials, which I said, well, it's not foamy enough now because it's not degreasing enough. So they dropped the reactive side, increased the degreasing side, and I said, well, again, it's too degreasy now, but it's not picking up any embedded contaminants. So we must have had 6 to 8 trials of each of the first products to kind of get it right. We got it right. It was really hard to find a labeling company, because I'll tell you, there's one company that everybody uses in the UK for labels, which I found fairly easily. And I thought, no, I'm not going to use you. I refuse. I always like to go against the grain. I thought, well, no, even some big companies use you, but I want to find somebody else that I have no ties to car care, because I don't like people talking. This is why our chemistry team, we chose very, very specifically of who they are and exactly how they act, because they are literally so low key, you can guess all day. And I've had people obviously of influence come here who own like big retail stores and stuff like that in the industry, and they've all guessed. They've all said, is it this, is it this, is it this? And every time, hand on heart, obviously I didn't say if they were right or wrong, because obviously it's knocking off the possibility of who it could be. But every time they've been wrong, because it is not the usual route that people go down on. So we work on a kind of a different basis to most normal people. Same thing with the labels. I found this company and I said, no, I'm not happy with you. First of all, the quality of labels, they didn't even send us the right size labels. So again, it was the wrong impression off the bat. And second of all, you know everybody within the industry, so I don't want you to go and potentially spill my secrets or my special label to go and kind of help somebody else, because we did this all by ourselves. So we found a company who was still with, absolutely huge. They are a multinational conglomerate of printers. They print all the Tesco labels, all the Sainsbury's labels. So, you know, like Tesco Finest and all this, they are the printers. Now, that's a good and bad thing. One, you're small fish to them. That's the bad thing. And they do not really care about you. And second of all, they're that busy with the bigger contracts that sometimes when you try and speak to somebody dedicated to your case, it's almost impossible. But anyway, we're still with these guys. One day, Kelly came in. I don't know what I was doing at the time, but she came in with an A4 piece of paper like this, and she said, Nick, I think I've got something good, right? So I looked at this piece of paper, and I thought, you know what? I'm not very visual in things that I've got no passion in, but I looked at this label design, because again, I'm not a graphic designer, so I've got no passion in learning it. And I thought, this looks really odd. Obviously, she's not the best artist. I'm not the best artist. It looks like a 2-year-old drawing it. But anyway, I gave it to our label company. And they said, okay, let us do your mock-up. We did this mock-up. And seriously, it came out, like, especially when it was behind the color, the branding is really nice. It's really strong, and it's very, well, we get this word now, it's very consistent. And I looked at it and I thought, you know what? It's quite nice. So again, we came across a label design that literally came from a bedroom talk, kind of walk in, look what I've made. So technically the branding is all Kelly. So we went with the labels, the bottles. Again, I did not want to use, because there are some kind of suppliers who everybody uses. And I said, no, I do not want to use your supplier. I want to go and use somebody else, because maybe we will find a bottle that I actually like. So this bottle that we've got now, so the 500ml variant of our bottle, some American brands use it, but I just like the style. Again, it's consistent, it's clean. Is it the cheapest bottle in the world? No, it's not. You're obviously paying, 20, 30, 40% more sometimes. But again, I would rather knock off some of our margin and increase our cost price to have something that looks completely consistent. So we were ready, right? We had our first product ready to go. We had, again, I think the first batch of bottles we bought was about 1,000 bottles. To me, at the time, I thought I was, Al Capone. 1,000 bottles, yes, I thought we were big time now. Yeah, how things change. And I thought, right, so labels, I think we had to buy 750 or 1,000 labels. I think we kind of matched to the number. Everything was ready. We received everything, and we at first thought, right, where the hell do you store all this stuff? Because even though it was technically our biggest order to date, because it was the first order, we were caught a bit short-handed, because again, this is where the mistakes happen. There was no storage. There was no way of, at the time, in terms of clarifying with the SKUs on the websites and all that sort of stuff, in terms of consistency of stock management, is the best way of saying it. So we kind of fumbled our way through it. We then eventually spent probably a total of £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 with people who made spreadsheets. All of them were absolutely, horrific. Some were good, but eventually we outgrew it to the point where it wasn't good and it was really bad and basic. So we then eventually, the final guy, we paid for a professional grade management software, basically, where as soon as you type in one thing in a certain column, it changes the whole picture of the software. So you say this week you take 5,000 liters of X product, and you take 5,000 bottles, you put all the pricing in, and the sheet so basically it's a live sheet that will always tell you where you are, the stock, all that sort of stuff. But that kind of came a little bit later on. So first unit, we are kind of excited, brand new flooring, obviously fresh paint, different cabinets, not these ones. And I was happy. I thought, even at the time, I think we had one of the best units, certainly probably the best startup unit in the country. But amongst existing units, I think we were in the top, a few percent of people who actually put the effort in. If anybody's in this chat who saw us back in the day, obviously this is slightly different now, but still, I think the flooring's the same, the paint's the same, the ramps are the same. So we started, and this is where it kind of went uphill and downhill, because I started to realize, when you start doing something, one, that people want to do themselves, and then when you start overlapping people, not overlapping, overtaking people, you see their true side. So it was really difficult for us, because we were struggling with, we were learning with the whole production aspect. At this point, we started, obviously, we have very close links with our team of chemists, very, very close links. And we speak in whichever format pretty much daily, right? And this is how good we are, and we're really tight-knit. So if I ever have a problem or I have a new idea, I have no hesitation in picking up that phone or sending an email if it's a bit more complex and saying, look, this is what I want, this is what I think the formula should look like, how it should kind of respond. I want to start building. Let's have the version 1s, version 2s, let's start building. So at the time, obviously, we spoke on good terms with the chemist. Our production in terms of the bottling, we were kind of ordering stock in terms of the auxiliary stock, I call it, so caps, bottles, almost to order. So like I wouldn't order 85,000 pieces of bottles because we didn't need them or we didn't have the space, because obviously the volume was not there. So we were probably taking them in the 1,000 piece category at first. So that's what I mean by per order. And then what started to happen is I started my YouTube channel. So it didn't start in tandem as we launched the company officially. In hindsight, again, this is another mistake. I should have started it way before that. If everything I know now about social media that I knew, if I knew it back then, I think it might have been obviously the same path, but way above in terms of, you know, the content creativity. The longer you spend at something, the better you eventually become, right? So it's kind of repetitions and motor action. So I didn't start the YouTube channel at all at the start. We were pretty much dead. I wasn't interacting with anybody on the forums. I was still in a few of the key forums, but I just wasn't doing it. I was being a busy kind of person without being busy, if you know what I mean. So I was being busy doing nothing, or pretending I was doing something which I thought was right, which wasn't right, which again, I'm big enough to say that about myself. And what that happened is I started the YouTube channel, very bad attempts. I think some of the original videos are still up there. I tried to make content that I thought was valuable. And this was, I started the business with a certain key set of prerequisites that I will never move away from. So even when I was just a normal person and I was a customer of other brands, I expected a certain level of prerequisites, you know, quality and the customer service and all this. And people say it all the time, well, we got the best customer service, we've got this, we've got that. When you go and deal with these companies, trust me, most of them, I'm not saying all of them, but most of them are pretty much lying. You know, their customer service, it takes them 3 days to reply, or they don't know how they're going to answer. So I expected the highest quality when I was a paying customer. So now that I'm a business providing to the paying customer, I thought, right, let's start this right. Let's start it once and keep it kind of consistent. So this is why our branding on the bottle has never changed. Our pricing pretty much hasn't changed. We haven't done anything kind of aggressive in terms of are we going this way, are we doing that way. So we've kind of kept the same way, the low and slow way. Now what started to happen is we've got, obviously, let's say, I think at the time, say 4 products at this time. We've got 4 products and a little bit of traction just started to happen. I still do not know at what exact point it started to happen. A lot of people ask me this. At what point did your product start selling? I think we had, obviously, 1 person comes in, he goes and tells his friend, 2 people all of a sudden become 4, 8, 16. So that was the slow spread. I'm not going to say we made any huge waves because, again, to this day, I do not speak to anybody personally on the forums. I just think, some of these children that are about today, I do not go and feed them free product for a positive review and a bit of story time somewhere. I want a genuine, so I'm not going to go and mess with them. That's why we never had that sharp growth. But eventually, we started with a little bit of traction, which is really important. I started the YouTube channel thinking it was going to take off super quick. It didn't. So I think the first 5 followers were the people that I knew. I think that's with anybody's YouTube channel, like your wife, your girlfriend, your mom and dad. But then YouTube started to, again, get a little bit more traction. I got 100 people, 500 people, 1,000 people. This is where I got, at this point, I got monetized. It took me a lot longer to get monetized than probably most people, because my content isn't, viral. Let's go and start ripping shirts off and fighting people. It was more kind of value-based content. And then all of a sudden we started taking levels And at this point, it started to be, I'm going to walk up to probably the current day, probably a few months back from today, because some of the stuff that's happened in a couple of months I can't yet reveal, because it's really exciting news, but that will come in time. So we started taking steps to where we started being recognized by certain YouTubers, okay? And yes, they may have not have been in our field, but they were automotive. So they bought a few things, and I think the first guy that we kind of really got involved with, and what I mean involved with, we talked, we gave him the specs of the products, how to use it, a few phone calls type of thing. I think he had at the time 20,000 followers, right? I think currently he's probably rolling on about, what's he on? 30, 40, maybe even 50. I know on TikTok he's got over, I think 400,000. So he's quite big, but he wasn't this big then. I think TikTok wasn't even a thing back then. So, and then that's where we got to jump. We got this guy, we got this video to 15,000 views, let's say. I wish 15,000 people bought from us from that video, but again, there's a big drop-off rate, you know, and a big bounce rate from the videos. If anybody knows their Google Analytics and what those words mean, and the click-through rates on your website. But then what started to happen is I think people started to catch on that everything that I'm speaking and how I'm speaking to you even now, when I say to you, look, let's say the shampoo, right, or wheel cleaner, whichever product, just pick a product in your head. When we developed that product, and like I've just openly admitted, we have one hell of a chemist, first of all, and second of all, we have very close ties to them. So that combination and my anal approach to developing products, I wish I wasn't anal. It would be so much easier. I think it's a disease almost. Like I said, I overthink things. Like even with a car, it should be super happy experience. You've got the money to go and buy a car, go and buy it, done, that's it, you know. It should be a fairly kind of nice experience, and it should be a very exciting experience for me to go make products, which it still is and always will be, but I always overthink. I go into the areas that most people probably don't even know exist. So, and then when you go into those areas, the last 5-10% of a product, that's where you start having problems. You know, you start, oh well, this killed the formula, it's not stable enough, it's too volatile, it's going to end up drifting somewhere. And we've had so many products still, well, the live products have took many iterations, and some of them have completely died on us in development. And products that we're currently developing, it's very hard, because some products are, you know, they just click. Look, I want 25% of this, I want 97% of that. Put it all together. Does it work? Yes. Very rarely that happens, but still, we still try and break it, and then we go, right, okay, so we've got it to this threshold, let's push another 15%, bang, it's dead. Well, let's try and do it at 14, 13, you know, and we always try and push it down from whatever the maximum is. We increase it by 15, 20%, obviously kill the formula, and then start backing down all the way back down to the maximum. So people started realizing that I actually take pride in what we do. And the thing that also separates us is we have a very beautiful unit. I like talking quite clearly, right? I like talking. I invite people here. I say, come and shop. Come on, come speak to me. I love educating. I have been there and I have done it at most levels for myself. So whatever experience I've got, I want to give that to you, because I don't want you to suffer like I did all those years ago in the cold and the hot and using the wrong products that never wipe off. So my worst nightmare is a person walking through those doors and saying, Nick, Kelly, rest of the team, your products, just, I hate them, right? And that is my worst nightmare, and that's what keeps me up at night, and that's what drives me to go and build, at the time, the best possible formulation. right? And that's why I always say at the time, because don't forget, 20 years time, our shampoo currently will be made to look like a baby formula, because our version 47 will embarrass this all over. But we're not 20 years ahead right now, and certain raw materials haven't been discovered yet, haven't been mixed together yet in a certain variation. That is just the development of human kind. So at this point, people started realizing, so this was like 2019, mid-year, we started obviously going to a few trade shows, which by the way never worked for us, because they expect you to go and pay 1,500 to $2,000 at some of the big shows anyway for a trade stand, and you're already $2,000 down on the day, which is classed as an investment, and you could be seen by people. And then obviously that show might just not be your show. The best shows we've had are either the free ones, which is very rare usually for traders, but a few free ones we kind of managed to blag, and also some of the cheapy ones. I call them cheap, but like the entrance fee for traders. Some of those shows, honestly, is being unbelievable, like really nice. And we started getting like traction through that way, and people, obviously locally, the word started to spread. Our social media started to grow. We then started being approached by international people. So in fact it was people like Spain, Egypt, Cyprus, Estonia, Sweden. So these hotspots wanted to go and take our product on and then control the areas around their kind of hotspot or their centralized spot. Again, because I've got high quality standards, I've got high quality standards of my resellers. The reason why you still see to this day, we have tried in the UK resellers, some big, some small. I like to use this word. I give you the rope. How much you want to use of it is up to you, and how you want to hang yourself with it is also up to you. Now, some of these resellers obviously haven't got a clue. I mean, I'm really sorry, but it's true. Sometimes they don't know the technical specs on products, let alone my products, but other brands' products. Some people never include triggers in the orders. I've had people who I knew for 5-6 years who just happened to be in a certain area of the country saying, Nick, I've just seen your products being sold. I think I'm going to go and buy some. This is on the phone conversation. I'm like, oh, great, please go and support them. And they used to come back to me 15 minutes later saying, I've got no triggers. Look, here's the proof, and these friends I trust. Or they didn't give me the right advice and they told me to do this and that. So obviously we pulled the plug on pretty much everybody, including some international resellers. And we get this guidance from the people that we work with. So like MTM US, I speak to them again. I have got a very, very good contact with these people. We have spoken on the phone hundreds of times. We're almost like family now. So even the international people, like even they concur with me on this. Some people look at a brand, they look at how, well you may have done in a shorter period of time, and then they expect the brand to just work for itself. So they expect, I want to take X amount of product, let's say 10 grand, and magically that £10,000 is going to turn me into 2 million without putting any upfront work. They do no social media, or they do very little of it. They use stock images that we do not authorize. And even if we authorize the images, which are our images, we have as you know, we have one of the best photographers going. We say, look, if you cannot afford to take your own content, which by the way, I recommend, use our content. Not a problem. We have got tens of thousands of images in whatever configuration you want. Use them 14 times a day, one every hour if you want. And these people just, they don't realize just how much work me and Kelly, and I always say it's me and Kelly, it's nobody else. Yes, we have people helping us now, and we have some people doing the fulfillment and some people doing the kind of heavy work, but still the people who brought this off the ground are me and Kelly. So I find it really disrespectful that some people have no respect for how hard you've worked. I mean, still, even now, it is 9 p.m. I'm doing a live kind of podcast. Everybody's at home probably drinking a beer in the industry, I mean, and I'm here still working, I'm still hustling. So we pulled the plug on pretty much everybody in the UK. We pulled the plug on quite a few international people, even though their orders were fantastic, and I mean in monetary value. Some of their orders would make your eyes water, but money is less important to me than what the brand can become. This could be big, and with some of the stuff that's circulating in my head and some of the news that I've got to reveal to you over time, that has already, by the way, happened, and it's just nobody knows about it. This could be absolutely volcano explosion big, and I just want to find people who are just on my level, who have got the same passion, not for just business element of it, how much margin can you make of a product. I don't care about any of that. It's how can we, make a really strong, stout range of products, accessories, and just have the best foundations. Now, a lot of people think they can do it, but they end up just kind of, ripping you off. I mean, I get people sometimes, send me emails with some screenshots that I just have to laugh at nowadays. But then again, there's just a little bit of a lack of respect, because we've had to pour basically our life into this. We've poured every single penny that we have into this without a blink of an eye. We just said, right, if the business needs more blood, it'll take more blood. If it takes a little bit more money, it takes more money. Everything that we earn in the business goes back in the business. We're trying to fund this in a very kind of anarchist way, where it's all or nothing. We're just putting everything into this thing and hoping that our vision is being seen by like-minded people, which obviously you guys are watching me and stuff, so I really appreciate it. So yes, that is the traction kind of part happening. International resellers approaching us. We've had still, I mean, some of the resellers, and I'm not going to call them resellers, I'm going to call them importers, because now those importers and distributors have their own resellers, which I think is so cool. And I try and guide my inner circle of the best way of choosing them. Some of the people they choose, again, isn't the people I would sometimes choose, if I'm completely honest. And I'm trying to work it with them and say, look, you've already got this kind of guy or company or couple. Teach them in this way, potentially, because I think my methods work. So we've still got some very good importers, some which haven't yet been revealed, and we've had to get rid of a few importers because of the reasons I've already mentioned to you. So I'm going to cut this here, in terms of I'm now going to go and answer some questions, any more questions that come to my answers, because I think that's as far as I'm going to go comfortably without revealing some stuff which obviously will come in time. And I think you guys should kind of wait for it. Something right now is happening live, and I mean this current moment somewhere, which again, I'm getting updates on this. That's why I keep checking my phone, because it's just so cool and so exciting that it's almost like a dream come true for me. So I'm going to leave this here, because obviously some stuff you will find out in the coming time. So I've got 28 people apparently in the chat. So whoever you are, guys, start asking some questions now, answering to my questions, or keep asking more questions type of thing. So obviously we've got the usual hellos from Angelo. Hello, Michael. Also good evening, Daryl. It's been a long time. Yes, it has. Pork and beans. Whoever you are, I'm starving, so I could have some pork and beans. Hello, good evening. Good evening, Nick. I'm working tonight, but thankfully able to listen. Andy, I hope you're well. So I hope everything went okay with your dad. You popped in here a little while ago, so yeah, hope everything's well. I'm yet to send you that code, my friend. So yeah, sorry, I've just been super busy. So, but I'll pull your email up from the ordering systems, and I'll send you, you know what. So I know you work at nights because you're 24/7, but hopefully you really found the podcast kind of interesting. Craig Wade, good evening, Nick. See you still clapping cheeks. Yes, we are. When does your Black Friday start? Black Friday usually worldwide for the countries that are available to Black Friday and know about it. It's always the last Friday and the last weekend of November. Michael Brett, hello. The Savage Garage, James. Hope you're well, my friend. Craig, my order came the very next day, so thank you. So happy with my big bundle and the rest of the stuff. Thank you so much. Yes, we are super quick with shipments, like I say, and I hope you enjoy it. And thank you so much for the order. I really appreciate it. Michael, Nick, will the 5 the 5 liters? Yes, so we should try, as obviously you can see, I've put some really nice color behind me to try and keep you guys interested. Yes, hopefully as much stuff as possible will be available. So keep your eyes peeled. It's this month. Yes. It's going to be absolutely unbelievable. Corsa E, hello. Michael, can you look at doing some Yum hoodie jumpers as the weather is getting cold? Yes. The reason why we haven't done it and we haven't jumped, again, as some of the stuff I've touched on, I want to try and find, in this case, a hooded jumper, whether it's a sweatshirt or a zip-up jumper. I want to try and find the best blend, the best material. I'm very finicky with clothes, trust me. I think there's something wrong with me. I need to go and see a doctor about this. But Kelly will concur with us, or with me, that clothes to me is, I know exactly when it shrinks, or if it's been tumble dried incorrectly, because every millimeter here and there at my height level I can feel. So when it comes to clothes, so for example, I'm wearing obviously this t-shirt, this blend went through some serious hunting, some serious kind of testing. Really nice. It's not a cheap blend. It is expensive, and this is going to be the same kind of thought process that I'm going to go towards with like the warmer clothes stuff. But yes, it is getting very cold. It's very chilly. Yes, lad. I love the wheel brush. It's flipping unreal. Hashtag the wheel woolies are unreal. Yes, they are. They are very nice. If you're still in the chat, please let me know which ones it is. Is it the actual wheel woolly brush you got, or is it the actual the barrel brushes, all that sort of stuff? Rob Lubelski. I pronounced that wrong, Rob. I'm sorry. How you doing? Will you go to Waxstock next year, 2022? Absolutely not. More than likely not. It's I'm too busy, and it's not my kind of show. I already won that show back in the day. I don't need to go and beat it again. Any big announcements today? Nope, there isn't. Absolutely zero. I hear you. Yes, it's scary as hell when dropping life savings on a business idea / dream. Fair play. I think you and Kelly are doing it right. Yeah, thank you so much. It's still a scary experience. I always say to people, if you just knew what happens behind the walls of this place and the conversations that we have and some of the struggles, it's not easy. No business is easy, by the way. If you start a business and you start scaling it, and you have growing problems, don't you? Every business has a growing problem up until you come to a level where you can hire enough people, 25, 50, 100 staff, to where you can kind of take a back step and grow the business in another way. But yeah, it's scary, our livelihoods on the line technically, because everything's in this place, but it keeps us motivated. That's the thing. It keeps the fire lit in all areas. So Christopher Allen, when will you make me a YumCars hoodie with a gold writing? In time. And the other exciting times, do you use other companies' car products although having your own products? The only thing I will use, even if it's not launched yet, so for example, let's say we will say I don't have currently a tar remover, right? This is the perfect time for me to then go back and start developing one, right? And I know it's going to take me a long time, so I might as well start now. So I've gone through so many iterations of say a tar cleaner, or a tar remover, a tar remover, that I don't need to go and buy somebody else's. I will buy it to go and test it and still, explore my geeky version of Nick and just do it for the passion. Some stuff that I buy now, or most of it, I buy it just for me. Like sometimes I will go and I'll try a wax or a snow foam or whatever from just a different company. I close my eyes as a brand owner, I open my eyes as Nick, and I just go and try and enjoy it. If I enjoy it, awesome. If I don't enjoy it, then obviously it's going in my famous toilet. It's the most clean / protected toilet on the planet, as always. It's had more protective products and more cleaning products down it than you will ever imagine. So, I mean, the stuff that I do have to kind of buy is, because I'm not actively doing this on the front line, stuff like, say, like a polishing compound. It is, like I said to you at the start of this kind of story, some stuff's always been on the back burner, some's on the front burner. So the compounds, I think we are on version 3 or 4, and I'm just testing it, and I'm really trying to break it in my own time, and that's where I'm like really kind of geeky, and I tell everybody, just leave me alone, don't talk to me, I'm in my world. So in that case, if I do need to go and compound the car, by the way, we don't do any kind of detailing services, so when I say compounding or refining the polishing steps, I do it on my fleet, Kelly's fleet of vehicles, all that sort of stuff. So yes, in that case, I will go, and I have used every compound in the world, every refining polish in the world, and I will try and obviously buy what at the time I think is the best. But yeah, in terms of liquids, it's just, yeah, so imagine you say to me, Nick, I don't know, wheel cleaner. Obviously we have a wheel cleaner, but if I'm about to start doing a detailing series that I know is going to be kind of in a month's time, 6 weeks time, I'm like, right, let's go and start developing, and this will be in 6 weeks. We can probably go and crack a version 1, right? The detailing series comes along, so I'll give you an example. The video that is going to come out on Friday, this process is happening currently on a product. I'll go and try it on the detailing series, and I'll go back to them, and we have never took a V1 of anything, right? So I'll say, look, I don't know, this wheel cleaner just doesn't clean wheels very well. And then I know that from then on, I need to wash a certain car 57 times and develop the V1, V2, V3. So that's how I use my excuse. That's why I wash that many cars. One, I enjoy it, and 2, I just develop. That's my real development time. I sometimes just get left alone for months. Some people I don't see for, a year sometimes. Nope, I haven't seen you. I am working. I've got time to call you. I haven't got time to see you. I'm doing something special here. So yeah, that is my kind of thought process. The Savage Garage, make sure to leave a like on the stream to help share it. Yes, James, you know that YouTube algorithm, way too well. So yes, if you can like it, guys, thank you so much. I never say it like the usual kind of people, like you see these huge, multi-million subscriber YouTubes that have this kind of similar script. I never say it. If you want to like my video, please like it. If you want to unlike it or dislike it, then fair enough. I'm not going to ask either way. Epic Car Show, David, good evening. Hope you're well, my friend. How are you doing? What are you up to, actually? Let's get some detailing talk going. And I'm still hoping you're going to do them Christmas cards. Who knows, Craig? Who knows? We've got a few females in the team. It could have a female touch to it this year. Who knows? Oh, in fact, I'm sorry, I missed one. Do you have any employees to deal with things such as packing orders? Yes, we do. So at the start, as you can imagine, I'm just reading that comment. Yeah, so at the start, as you can imagine, we started all by ourselves. It's just the way the business works. I couldn't, I'm not going to say I couldn't afford, it's not, I couldn't justify why go and pay somebody right from the start when, one, you're going to do a better job because you're fresh into a business and you're hungry. You're always hungry as a business owner. And second of all, the volume just, it wasn't there. There's very few businesses that explode exponentially from week one, day one, unless it's been pre-planned by a bigger company. So yeah, it was me and Kelly for a long time. It's technically, in terms of the operational level of the business, it's still me and Kelly, right? So you will see that all the main decision making is made by obviously me and her, and we kind of split our roles. Now, in terms of the distribution and the allocation or the production runs, I call them the production runs now because it sounds really fun, because when we do a production run like we're doing now, it's heavy. So yeah, we have a person packing, we have people filling, labeling, capping, obviously all that sort of stuff. So anything that's assembled, so basically if the camera was turned around, and obviously the people who've been to my shop have seen it, or anything on the online store, something under each listing has to be built here, right? And some things it's everything, some things it's like 3-4 things. A lot of people say, is this how your product arrives? And my answer is always, I wish, you know, because it would be so easy for us. But yeah, we do everything. So even if like the guns, for example, they come in pieces on purpose, we ask for them in pieces, and we assemble everything. We build them, I torque them, I water test them. So it's very interesting. Like the foam cannons, it comes as a little bit of a complete package, but then we'll open the box, we'll take out the fittings that you don't need and the lesser quality fittings, and then we buy another fitting, still from MTM at the minute. We still buy everything, you know, and then, like for example, with the 1/4 inch adapters, we take out their 1/4 inch and then put the other 1/4 inch, which we bought from them, which is in full stainless, and we put it back in this nice little bag and stuff like that. So yeah, we have now staff, which is helpful, but with staff comes problem. All of a sudden, me and Kelly don't have personality traits because we know each other, but all of a sudden you take on other people's problems, you take on their personalities, you take on their husband problems, wife problems, child problems if they have children, you know. So it's, you know, it grows you as a person, and also, you know, it kind of elevates the business, and hopefully we'll have the means soon to employ some more cool people. I've got one person in the pipeline who we're still waiting for the right time to do this, but once we take him on, it will be a huge step for us, absolutely huge. As and when that happens, it was meant to happen Christmas last year, and then obviously we kind of had a bad time at that time, not in the business, but it was just really bad timing. And then obviously springtime, it was still up in the air. Summertime, newborn baby happened with them. So I thought, you know, you can't kind of mess with something like that. So we're just waiting for the right time, because when it happens, I think it will be game over for some people. But yeah. Hi Nick, could you talk a bit about your package 2 training, please? Marcin Mitura, if I pronounce your name correctly, Marcin. So what would you like to know? Explain it, because everything is actually on the website. That's why that page exists. But if you've got a question that is not on the website on that specific page, let me know. By the way, while I wait for the guy to potentially add a bit more detail. A bit of an update, we were on a Zoom meeting yesterday with our website developers. Good news, we've seen the website, it's built. Yes, hallelujah, everything is built. Now the only thing that's left to tweak, I think, who was it? I think it was Stripe or something. They've decided to add some of their own integration in, so it's just added a little bit of text on every page of the website. There's a lot of pages, so they just need to kind of erase that all out. We've checked the membership. The membership is solid. The trade accounts, so all you people with the trade accounts, we've literally, in the last 6 months, we must have had thousands of trade inquiries, and we're like, please hold, it's going to be ready. Obviously everybody knows that there's been a delay, but honestly thousands of people have said, like, I want a trade account. So the trade looks good, everything's integrated now the way I want it to be. So hopefully, I don't know, Black Friday is in 3 weeks. Do we launch a website right before, probably, where we need Arctic trucks taking out our orders? Probably a bad idea, but if we can get this all done in the next weekend / next week, the website may be live sooner rather than later, so I cannot wait to kind of show you guys. But yeah, I just thought I'd kind of touch on that point because he asked about the website. Michael Brett, Nick, have you changed the 500ml bottles? We haven't changed. We have transitioned 2 products into a different style bottle. That is because we are planning ahead. In fact, I had a member here last week. He said the same thing. He said, oh, those 2 bottles look different. So we are transitioning in preparation for, it's just basically more research. You know, when you get extreme colds, luckily we don't have it, but sometimes we do. But in the extreme heat as well, UK properties in general are not built for extreme weather, which, again, I spoke to this member about this and he was laughing. He said, Nick, you go too deep into some stuff that is really not interesting. But I've been researching how UK houses are built usually. And if you know anything about property or construction, you will agree with me 100%. So like in the likes of Australia, they build houses in a certain way to dissipate heat. You go into the colder countries, and the high-end colder countries like Canada and stuff like that, they build usually houses in a certain way to keep heat in, right? Because it's normally cold. Whereas the UK, they just build brick houses. So sometimes it gets really hot or really cold, especially inside garages. So we just wanted to transition ahead of if any problems were going to happen. So yeah, hopefully that's answered. And by the way, with this bottle change, in the past, it's not like we can take 500 bottles or 1,000 bottles anymore. We had to go direct to the manufacturer as usual, and I think it was 20,000 pieces, 25,000 pieces. Nightmare, honestly. It's like playing Lego with these things. It's just, storage is, you know, the bane of my life at the minute. I've done that. How much did COVID affect, or did it boost sales in any way? That's a very interesting question. Right. So, COVID. Well, what happened is, we basically, imagine this happening to you. As obviously I said, we've put our entire life savings in. We launched the liquid line of the business version, right? 2019. So you've got January 2019 to, well, people started already talking in 2019 about, in the summer, so June, July, August, about getting chest problems. We then later find out November, December of the same year that potentially something, you know, obviously this whole pandemic. But people didn't realize it was a serious, you know, it's going to pretty much put the whole world on kind of a standstill. So I thought, oh, it's going to be nothing. But then when it really hit, and lockdowns and all of these things, the production problems and the stock levels, not for us, but you know, when you start going to the big manufacturers, they say, well, we can't get something in the usual time frame. You have to wait 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years. So obviously, I hope that never happens. So what happened basically is we got caught in the midst. So imagine the first year of business, we still haven't got as much traction as we want. And then boom, everything, even still to this day, as of today, it's still on its head. In some ways worse than it was before. So, like, because we now go to the factory on everything, right? And we, like, for example, with the bottles, can we have 25,000 pieces? Yes, but we can't get the plastic, or the plastics taxes come in. So you have to wait 12 weeks. How many bottles do you have left? You know what I mean? So that's one thing. Caps, labels, chemicals. Some chemicals have 40, 50, 60 raw materials to go and make a certain product, right? It's a concoction. We use some very high-end raw materials. So when a raw material manufacturer, you know, when they suck it out the ground or they pull it from the space elements, you know, when they say, well, look, we can't get the drivers, this stupid driver shortage, we then can't get the machinery to get it. Our machinery is broken currently, so the raw material that has to come from the other side of the world or the part, all this combined, you have to wait 6 months. But because you can't wait 6 months, the price of this has just tripled overnight. So we are hit with massive price hikes right now. It's actually huge. I mean, seriously, one product in 6 months has doubled. In fact, 54%, I'll be completely kind of transparent with you, 54% increase in raw materials. And I'm not even talking about shipping it here. So, yeah. And this said product is from the USA, let's be honest. So 54% increase in cost, price. And then the shipping companies have decided to say, hello guys, you know, our container used to cost $5,000, now it's 25, 35 grand for a container. So yes, I hope that has answered your question as best as it could, but yeah, it turned everything on its head. Again, for retail size businesses or retail side businesses, of course, some businesses profited from it, some businesses failed because of it. So it's, if I could do it all again and I could rewrite history, would I have COVID here at all? Even if, you know, it slightly helped? Absolutely not. I would rather be normal, build, you know, like a normal business, you know, interact with people in a normal way rather than people jumping from their own shadows now. Yeah. I think it's changed the way business is done, and I'm sure people, all you guys who either worked in an office, a factory, a lot of you people have seen the way the companies have changed. You know, some people have been sacked because they've realized, I don't need 50 people to press a computer. I only need 10, and they can both work from and they can all work from home. Factories have now obviously changed raw materials. They've changed the manufacturing processes. Some have become more streamlined, some less so streamlined. So yeah, I think it's changed. And yeah, COVID definitely affected us to a point where sometimes we were living on the edge. Like literally, we were living on the edge. And at some points, it was a running joke where you're thinking, right, we are literally hanging on here by the skin of our teeth, and we were pulling from all the contacts that we had. And again, we got there, we're still here. In sometimes it was really scary, but it was really fun at the same time. So yeah, it was a weird experience. Is that the photographer? I don't know, Craig. It could be, it could not be. But yeah, he's a good guy. He is unbelievable. In fact, if you look at the thumbnail for this podcast, that's the photo that I've just been sent in a file saying, check this. So yeah, unbelievable. And Max the caddy, Nick, you have a golden heart, thank you, golden product and a golden company. All the best to you, Max. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the compliment. Really appreciate it. Yeah, we try our best. We try our best, try to be as honest as I can to you. In fact, the people even come to the shop, Nick, do you have this product? No. Do you recommend? 99% of people go, well, I don't know. straight away, I'll give you a company. I'll give you the name, the number, the person to call and say, look, speak to this guy. He'll sort you out. Tell him I sent you. And whatever product it may be that we don't do, I try and help you the best I can. Talking about number of staff and what's happening in your shop. Do on a daily basis. You kind of answered my question. I taken it's you who's training anybody interested in package 2 training. Yeah, I personally do certain things in this business where even Kelly says, you know what, I agree with you and you need to kind of handle it yourself. This is one of them, especially when you're talking about pain correction, and these courses, especially the number 2 package, is tailored to you. So whatever it says on the website is always tailorable. I have never actually done what's on the website. People come in here and they say, look, I want to learn specifically how to wet sand a car pretty much down to its bare paint and start again. So, okay, I'll tailor that to you. People say, look, I want to see like these cars, they've got horrific, 10 years of automated car wash damage. I want to learn how to take that out. Fine. Again, believe it or not, compound in a car and heavy compound in a car, 2 different things. Yes, it achieves the same thing, but the process, the way you manage heat, very different. So yeah, we can tailor anything you want to. Some guys want to come in and say, look, I don't want to even talk about a coating. I want to use your most expensive wax. I remember a guy said, what is the most expensive wax? I've heard you've got a good wax collection. Let's have a look. So I laid them all out. Which one do you want, my friend? He said, ooh, I want this one. So yeah, I want to learn how to wax a car with this wax. We can pretty much, obviously, the package 2 training is designed for compounding, the removal of heavy defects. But if you want to tick a certain box and do a certain avenue where, yes, you're going to get to the same point, your car's going to be flawless, but you want to learn how to do this because you've seen it's harder than this part, I can show you. Nick, could you do a card with the product dilution rates? A card? Why, Michael? It's everything's already on the bottle. If it needs diluting, it tells you exactly how you put it in, where you put it into, in case it's like a foam cannon or a gun or something like that. Just to make a card, because some products you don't dilute. So like the glass cleaner, do you dilute it? No. Do you dilute this over that? So it can actually confuse you more than anything. The best thing to do is 1, watch the video, 2, read the back of the label, because everything, literally between the website, the label and the video, everything is explained. I hope that helps. So what is your favorite stage of detailing? Ooh, I get that question all the time. My ultimate, literally, the thing that I will never get sick of, any weather condition, is when I'm on my own, I'll put something on my lovely OLED or OLED TV of my choice, and I just do the maintenance. So like a maintenance wash, and maybe I'm developing a product that's even better. If I'm slap bang in the middle of developing something, I'm just sat there on my chair, nobody's around me, I turn my phone off. That's how, yeah, and I just clean. I then whip the car in, put the heating on. So again, I take everything off. Well, not everything, but you know what I mean. And then, I don't know, I go and put a nice coat of paste wax on. There's nothing better, especially when it's on my own cars, which it has been for a long time now. That is the best experience that I will never get sick of it, especially if you remember watching the video on how to protect and clean your glass, or how to clean and protect your glass. And obviously I was just sat over there somewhere with the GTI Lupo, and I basically said, look, I've built this place. Yes, it's the V, I think 2 or 3. I can't remember what it is now. It's still not perfect. Obviously, to most people's standards, they walk in here and go, whoa, I wish I had a gouge like this. So again, I've built this place out of love for myself, and then obviously I am sharing this experience when you come in here, and how everything looks, how everything's presented. People sometimes want to touch and feel the cabinets and feel the flooring, and obviously the walls. We've got some custom made walls. So obviously I'm sharing the experience with everything else to you, and everything you see on the wall is, I like fancy stuff, so now I'm introducing the fancy stuff to you. So I'm sat in this beautiful place, protecting, washing, whatever, stripping sometimes a car, that we've bought, and I just think it's the ultimate for me. Like, paint correction, yeah, it's fun, yeah, and I'm removing some defects from my car, that's fine, but just the maintaining of when the car is perfect and just maintaining it, I love it. I know that sounds really sad. Paul, hi Nick, could you put them nice pillows I see in the background into production? Admin car detailing UK. Oh, cool. Paul, I know, wicked, isn't it? Custom pillows. Ooh, yeah. So again, you never know. You honestly never know. When I say to you on a podcast, Paul, and to everybody else who's listening, I literally, some stuff that I plan to bring out, you will not believe. Like, people be like, is this guy real? Yes. So there could be anything coming out. So once I get my teeth stuck into a certain project, it will come. By the way, I'm not saying I'm going to bring out pillows. I mean, you never know. The softest, plushest, custom-made YumCars pillows with the right GSM and the right pile height. I mean, this sounds really weird, but in fact, I can get, you should see until we get that new microfiber towel line, but I could do like a whole medley of our towels with a custom blend in a pillow. Yes, I'm onto something. When is Kelly coming on as a special guest on your podcast? Ooh, well, she said Christmas special. Let's see if she keeps a promise. Chris O'Grady, 5-litre drums in the background look sick. Chris, thank you so much. Yes, they do look nice. The citrus in the wheels. Again, the packaging is consistent. It's unique, obviously very simple, unique, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I don't know if you've bought any yet, but if you do, we have plenty of stock ready to satisfy everybody. Right, guys, this is the most concurrent viewers I've had since I started the podcast. A couple of weeks ago, I had the most interacting podcast. I mean, this is fairly heavy as well, but in terms of the consistent viewings, it's literally, I'm looking at my graph. Obviously, there's a bit of a drop off and then there's a spike again, stuff, but yeah, it's been good. I've had over 460 playbacks. Unbelievable. I know I get excited over the simplest of things, but I class this as a vote of confidence. Thank you so much. I'm loving the podcast. Sorry for all the questions. Look, not a problem. That's what I'm here for. I'm doing this for you guys, the live, I should be at home eating some hot, spicy food somewhere, but no, I'm here for you because I love you all. So, yeah, please ask as many questions as you can in time. But honestly, being one of the highest viewed podcasts live, for me, again, it's all relative. I realize I'm no Joe Rogan just yet, but time is coming. In fact, this has been one of my longest podcasts too, 2 hours, 33 minutes exactly now. So guys, I'm going to leave it here. It's 9:45. I hope you've all enjoyed it. This was the highest request I had. Literally emails, Instagram messages saying, look, I want to hear some deeper story. I want to see how you've done it. So I hope I answered some more, again, questions. It's not all of it. You probably got about 75% there. So the reason why I didn't tell you all of it, because one, some bits I forgot. And I kind of like skipped a few months or a few years or here and there. But and some of the stuff, like, I mean, obviously, one day I will tell the full story probably on the membership, but it'll be probably a 3-4 hour video. So one day I'll shoot it, guys. Don't forget that code, mate. Send it securely over Bowman. Very funny, Andy. Very funny. Well, in fact, that code will never get to you because the Bowman systems don't work. Yeah. In fact, this is an interesting fact. This guy here, Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, was it you helped or you built or you had some part of doing probably one of the highest production communication systems in the British military? Sometimes it didn't work, so I don't blame you for that, Andy. However, he had some part to do with it. He's a customer of ours. He's a membership subscriber too. He's an all-round cool guy. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate the support so much. It means the world to me that you sit here listening to me talk, you watch the videos, you buy a lot of product, all the feedback that you give me, and Kelly, and the questions you ask is, yeah, thank you so much. You are all legends in your own little ways, in your own little special ways. And again, I appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you've got any more requests that you want me to seriously film, as I said, I listen to requests. My story in the history of car care was just the number one. The number two thing will probably get filmed another time. So thank you so much. Hope you have a fantastic evening, and I'm going to leave it there and obviously head home and try and relax a little bit. So have a great evening, guys. I love you all. Thank you.